Hello and welcome to the Dragons Are Real podcast. So today I'm going to be looking at note-taking apps for use in role-playing games. And I'm going to discuss 3 of the apps that I've used and what I've settled on. So the first one I want to talk about is Joplin from joplinapp.org. This is open source note-taking app. It's available for Windows, Mac, Linux and Android. And one of the reasons I started using this was that I needed an app that I could work across multiple devices because I need to access notes on my tablet, on my phone, which are both Android. I've got 2 laptops. Well, in fact, I've got more than 2 laptops, but they use Linux and Windows, so I needed to access them. So I was using Joplin, so let's have a look at Joplin. Joplin is a nice and easy to use. It uses text with some markdown format. It records things in folders, notes. You can have tags for them, and you can link to notes. You can preview notes, and it was quite good. But the reason I stopped using it was twofold, really. First of all, it has to use a third party to store all your items if you want to sync them, which is using Dropbox. And if Dropbox goes down or Dropbox went bust, then I would lose access to all my notes. And secondly, the larger the database got, the more time it was taking to sync, and the files were getting larger and larger. And although it's using Markdown here, it wasn't using pure Markdown in the files that it was using. The second one I looked at was after seeing Sly Flourish, and that's Mike Shea. He was using Notion, and Notion is another online app. This works on Android, iOS, where there's apps for, or the desktop app works on Mac, Linux and Windows. And again, this is saving your notes. You can use bullet points. You can link to things. You can see these are my session notes here. I can link to different people, and everything is cross-linked, which is really handy. The downsides for Notion is that you need mouse clicks for most everything, so your hands are constantly going back between your keyboard and your mouse, and each one of these is a separate like a widget, and you've got to move them around, and it gets a bit of a pain. And again, if Notion goes down, then you've lost access to your notes, or if they decide to start paying, you've lost them. So those were the 2 I was using, and then I came across something called Obsidian Notes. Obsidian is not designed like the others weren't designed for RPGs. It's a knowledge base. It's based on Markdown files, and all the Markdown files are saved on your local folder. So you've got full control of them. If Obsidian goes bust, you've got access to your files. And as you know, Markdown are pure text files. So something you wrote in Markdown 30 years ago is still accessible today as a plain text file. You can open up a notepad on Windows. You try finding something that will open one of the old WordPerfect or StarOffice files. Yeah, it's not so easy. So that's why I like Markdown. And I can do all my Markdown from my keyboard without taking my hand off the mouse too much. So let's have a look at my Obsidian Vault. And first off, let's just switch off that plugin so we get a core look. There we go. So this is Obsidian Notes. We have different panes on the left and right, and in the center area here we've got our text files. And if I open up one of my session notes there we go, this is one of my session notes. As you can see, it's all in Markdown, so as you alter the Markdown, it alters the text. You can do links just by doing square brackets, and it gives you, if I start typing, it will give me a link to one of the other notes, so it's quick without using any mouse. You can preview it. I mean, there's so many shortcuts, keyboard shortcuts for Obsidian. Once you get used to them, it's lightning fast, so I can go to preview mode by using shortcut keys. Back to text editing mode, I can switch my left and right menus off and on by shortcut keys, so I don't have to take my hands off the keyboard whatsoever. Just like the others, on the left hand side it's got folders down the left hand side here, and within the folders are notes, and then on the right is another menu here which I'll come on to in a second. So it's super lightning fast. The other good thing about let me just show you though that I got full access to my notes. Let's drag my folder over here. This is where my folder is. You can see here the folder on the left here is fully using the same folder system as it is here on the left hand side, so any changes I make here are saved to my hard disk. The way I sync these is by using some open source software called SyncThing, which will sync my device when it's switched on to my Linux laptop, my Android mobile phone, and to my Android tablet, so the notes are always flashed between each other. You can pay extra money for, I think it's $5 a month, which you can sync to the cloud, but I prefer to have access to myself. One of the reasons I switched to Obsidian. So folders down the left hand side, you can break them out however you want. When you write something in here and you create a link, in preview mode, if you hover over it, it will show you. In edit mode, if you press the control key while hovering over a link, it will give you a preview. Now what I like about it is if I go to, let's open up Snorri, which is one of the NPCs they met. You can see it opens up in a new pane, or you can keep the old pane open, and Snorri appears here. And if you look on the left hand side here, you can see all the times he's mentioned, any tags in it. So we can see here that Bartley was mentioned on this one here. So if I click on here, you can see there is Snorri. So anytime you've got links to everything, which is really super handy. You can collapse menus if you're not using them, which again is handy. If you're doing an adventure and you finish this section, you can just fold it up and move on to the next day. And subfolders, subheadings, as you can see here, you can fold up the whole thing. So it's really super handy for condensing notes as well. You can also use hashtags, as I'm doing here. So using the hashtag here, I can search for tags. So if I want to see all notes that are mentioned in session 2, I can see that there's 2 of them here, and on these 2 dates, these both occurred in session 2. I can also search under here for anything I want to. So if I want to search for Snorri, I can search in here text, and you can see how fast it is. It will give me a link here, who he's linked to, and again I can either click on them to open them, or if I control click, it will open it up in a new pane. You can pin the panes if you so wish, so that that pane is always open, and unpin. Again, keyboard shortcuts, I can preview or edit mode, so it's super fast, or you can do it with keyboard with a mouse key, but let's keep it fast. And the real beauty of when it comes to Obsidian is their community plugins. There are some core plugins that come with it which you can switch off. So some features, if you don't use them, you switch them off and you won't have access to them. So like for example the backlinks, I've got it switched on because I find backlinks handy, but you can have lots of these things switched on if you so wish. And then we come to community plugins. And community plugins are created by community members. They're completely free. You don't have to pay for Obsidian or for the community plugins. The only thing you pay for is if you want to use Publish or any of the extra features. So there's no paywall. So the ones that I found are really handy, and I'll look at them each in turn, is 5e stat blocks, add Moniton, a dice roller, an initiative tracker, a Kanban board, and sliding panes and timelines. So as you can see, these are the normal panes that you've got here, and you can adjust them left and right, but by switching on the sliding panes, this has got a nice feature that when you open a new one, they slide over each other and you can maximize them, minimize them, so it's handy. You can have multiple panes over without taking up lots of real estate. So let's have a look at stat blocks. This is the first one. So stat blocks are a piece of code which you can use to create a monster from 5e. It's got a set format which you put between 3 backhashes and the word stat block with 3 hashes at the end, and you can define all of their stats as the same format. And as you can see, when it with the CSS, it formats it into a nice D&D Beyond style, so this is really handy. So nice and easy to get stat blocks. If you you can also export them as a download them as a JSON file, or you can save them. If you save them, it will save them in the file format, and that means it's accessible within the Obsidian. And you can see here, this is a stat block for a Helmet of Gundabad for my aim, with all the stats in. And then what you can do is that when you come to the NPCs, in this case, on the left hand side here, I've got to my NPCs, I've got my Helmet. You can see I've got Bedwear, and Bedwear, he's got all the stats, but you may notice that his strength is different. If I look at his stat block, because I've already created him, I just have to put monster Helmet of Gundabad. It will bring all his stats in, but I can specify here what's different from those stats. So in this case, his name's different, his stats are different, and his skill save's different. If I look at symbol, all that's different with symbol is his name and his traits. Otherwise, the rest of his traits are as a Helmet. And again, you see here, symbol, and then you notice that athletics is 4 now, which is the standard. But if we go back to Bedwin and look at his athletics is 5. So it's a really nice way of doing it. So a nice way of getting your stat blocks in, and you can actually import stat blocks here. If you've got a D&D app file or CritterDB or 5e tools, then you can actually import them from there, but I've just created mine, and you can see the ones that I've created and saved in here. And you can also use it for NPCs. Next one, let's have a look at add mention. This, as you see in preview mode here, I've got a nice little box here with success. I've got some quotes here, some more quotes, and as we scroll down, we've got success and failure. So by installing this plugin, all it is using is the 3 backticks again and some keywords. So this is add failure, and whatever text I put in here will appear under a failure. Whatever appear under add success will appear under success, and a quote here will appear under the quote. You can also change the title of it. So at the end of the audience here, let's change this to title YouTube. And now if I go back here, you can see, oh, it's not name, is it? Control E. It's going to be name. There we go. Oh, it's not name. What is it? Oh, do you know what? You can never remember when you want it, can you? So one of the previous ones, we've got some. Let's have a look. I know one of these previous ones has got, there we are, it's title. His title with a lowercase, that's what it is. So if you, when you got a quote, if you put title, lowercase, colon, then that will change the title from quote to, if you can see on this one here, if I get rid of that, title Forgle, it will just be quote, and that's still symbol. But if I put it back there, you can see now Forgle's reappeared. So that's add motion, and there's a set number of different tags you can use for that one. Let's up next, we've got dice roller. Oh, dice rollers, this is a handy one. If you want to roll, have dice, do a dice roll. Let's pick up here, go all the way down to the bottom. Let's edit it, and I want to do a dice roll. All I need to do is put a backslash, write the word dice, colon, and I can write whatever dice I want. And when I go back into preview mode, I've got that dice. I can roll it as many times as I want. If I want it with stats, I can do that. And again, each time I roll it, I can have it in there. So that's handy if you want a dice roller in your text, but you can also use the dice roller for treasure tables. And let me see if I can find, yes, here's one. So this one, I'm using the command dice. I'm using the sheet precious items, which is this sheet here, precious items. And I'm looking at the subsection material, and I'm picking one of the items from this table. So I've got one for the material, one for form, one for craftsmanship. So now when I preview this, you can see if I roll this first one, it's picking one of these items from this table. And this is really handy if you want a name table as well. If you want a list of names, you can just click on this. I've got here a craftsmanship, what type of craftsmanship it is, and how many gold pieces it is. So as you can see there, and you can actually roll the dice here for these gold pieces as well. So that is the dice one. What else have we got? Let's have a look at the Kanban. So if you know what Trello is a Kanban board. You can create your own GM screen, and I've created a GM screen for my game, and you can see like a Kanban. It goes across with titles from the top. Let's just exit this one here. So you've got these different titles here. If you hover over anything, you can look it up. If you want to, you can open it up in a new window. So if I want to know what free actions are, it will take me there and I can look at that. So it's nice as a GM screen, but how is this all stored? Well, surprisingly, it's all stored as Markdown. Whatever the heading is, that is the list at the top, and each of the cards is a link to a list item. You can see that where you can have a link to a direct card, to a heading within the card, which is really handy, or you can put text. You can put one per turn here. So if I go back to this now, let's open it up as a Kanban. You can see that that's the text there. These are headings within notes. So if I open that new pane, you'll see there's conditions, and then frightened is down here. So when I hover over it, it will actually bring up the subsection of frightened, and that's one of the beauties of these nested headings. So that is our Kanban. I've shown you the sliding panes. We will just look at timelines and the initiative tracker. So timelines. When you're writing your sessions, as I do in here, let's find all of my sessions down the bottom here. You can see that at the top here I've got some tags, which is timeline and the year, and then I've got this span here which I can insert, and you can insert these by using different templates. So if I want to insert this, if I create a template by pressing Ctrl T, it will give you my different templates I can add. So if I wanted to add a timeline, I can quickly do so. If I wanted to add a success, I can quickly do so, and so I don't have to type it all out or remember it. So all this does is the timeline, the date it's happening, the title, and it will link to this section here. So if I go to my calendar and timeline, you'll find on the 29th of the 5th, 1953, there is going to be a werewolf hunt. So let's find my calendar. All the markdown is the three text and timeline, but when we preview it, here we go. And if we scroll down, you can see all here we have 25th of the 5th, 2953, there is the werewolf hunt. So that's a really nice one to add. And finally, we're going to have a look at initiative tracker. So for this one, let's I've not used this one yet. You set up an encounter with a name and any creatures. If it's in the SRD, you just put the name in. If you want players, you have to put the players' details in, and then you create the creatures. And the way the initiative tracker works is it appears in the right hand bar here, and you can set it up to have different fields. I've got hit points, armor class, the name, and the initiative. So if I wanted to alter Aldrich initiative to 21, I could do so, and that would put him top of the pile. You can start the initiative tracker by going through different rounds. You can re-roll initiative. You can reset the HP. If Alric takes some damage, you can click on that and say he takes 5 damage. You can apply the damage and it will come off him, or you can heal him by doing the opposite way around. So that is the encounter that is set. You can create new encounters and create initiative. So as you're running the game, you don't even have to take your eye off the ball. You just, if the players roll it, change it, and then you've got quick access to it. So that is a quick look at, I say quick, it's not a quick look, but that is a look at how I'm using Obsidian. Check out the different types of note-taking apps you can. The secret is that try and find an app that works for you and your workflow. I said I have tried 3 before I've settled on mine, so just try them out and see what works best for you. There's loads of them out there, and maybe it will help you run your games. That's all for now. That's me out. I'll see you all on the flip side.